Can you imagine Magnus and I playing? It's like, good game, dude. Here's a hug. Like, yeah, that would never happen. Of course, now that I say that, probably for the meme, something weird like that will happen.
At this moment, Borgov has generally done quite well. He has created something of an initiative on.
Yeah, so he's got this initiative on the king side. I mean, like, because basically, sorry, let me go back here. Okay, so in this position, black has to go king h7 here. I mean, I guess there's some initiative. You can play like knight g8, knight f6 here, maybe queen h5, bishop h3. So this is generally what Magnus is talking about with an initiative on the king side here. I hope this won't spoil the show. I haven't watched it yet. Yeah, so it's a Polish actor who played Borgov. I didn't know that. Okay. But yeah, it's like there's some kind of initiative. You can go queen h5, bishop h3, use the bishop on the diagonal. There's knight g8, knight f6 as well. So black looks to be doing pretty well here. All right, so let's keep going
on the king side, and all his pieces are pretty actively placed, but Beth is also playing quite well, centralizing her pieces, bringing her knights into the game. But at the moment, he is the one who is pressing, and she is the one who has to concern herself with equalizing the game. Yeah, she kicks away the queen from an aggressive position there.
I don't actually know the position here, so let me see the board.
Important move.
Yeah, so yeah, playing h3 is an important move here, because if you don't go h3, I mean, it's a little bit bad. Black can like trade the bishop for the knight on c5, take the pawn on e4 here. It's pretty good for black. I think h3 is almost the only move here, because if you don't do that, like if you go knight e6, I just trade and now I'm just up a pawn. Like you can't move the knight. If you play like b4, I just take, as I said, and then just queen e4 even, and black's just up a pawn again. So kind of you're forced in a situation where you have to kick the queen. So if you take on d6, I can then take, and again your knight has to move because the pawn is threatening to capture, and you're going to lose this pawn at e4. So h3 is a very good move here. So queen g6 is played here.
Here Borgov makes a huge mistake. Here he essentially has only one decent move that he can play with.
Correct. This is also true. So to give you guys more background on this, just to be very clear, in this position, like this is an old theoretical you know, mode of adjournment. In a situation like this, it's a very bad decision, because if you think about the period before there were computers involved, it was the team of people you had who could help you in a position. So at this point in the game, what should have happened is Borgov should have played queen g6 right away, and then after knight e6 he should adjourn. That being said, actually, is Magnus right or is he wrong? He says one decent move. Is queen h5 really not playable here though? Is queen h5 not playable? Actually, yeah, no, it's not, because you just go g4, knight g4 takes, queen g4, king f2, and there's nothing you can do. It's not. No, I mean, you can't do this. So actually, no, Magnus is right. I was wondering about queen h5, but again, considering the level of the players, like Borgov, if you think about this in the contextual perspective, should be like a 2700 player. He should very easily be able to work out the queen h5, g4, knight g4, h4, queen g4, king f2, and you're just going to be in trouble. So Magnus is right then. I just wasn't sure if queen h5 was a move. Now nowadays, you guys, you cannot adjourn games, because of course you could just turn on your eval bar, which I'm not going to do. Turn on your evaluation bar, and within like 2 minutes you would know exactly what the evaluation is. So this is in the pre-computer era, when you had your team of players who could help you, the other grandmasters around who could give you the who could tell you what you thought was the best move. So yeah, queen h5 is not really a move, and you should be able to work it out pretty quickly that g4 is good for white. So let's go back,
which means that she will be able to predict his next move, and she knows what she has to prepare for. And here we can see Borgov makes the obvious move, and it is no surprise to her, and she has prepared the best reply. Knight to e6. I have to say that he responds really poorly. This is something that should not happen. Borgov has a whole night to prepare, and he makes not an obvious mistake, but not a mistake you should make when you've had that time to prepare. What's happened here is that she makes absolutely the best move there by moving her knight into a dangerous position. And what Borgov needed to realize there is that however much he wants to win the game, he can't win the game. He has to chop off that knight, move his rook in order to take out Beth's most dangerous pawns.
Correct. All right, so yeah, basically, I mean, what Magnus says is true, which is that in this position after Queen G6, even without computers, it's pretty obvious that Knight E6 is a very logical move, because again, there's a lot of pressure from the bishops on both of these diagonals towards where the white knights are. So for that reason, it's like because of these knights, like you really do need to relieve the pressure. And if you have a whole knight to prepare, Knight E6 is an obvious move. It's a very obvious move, because what it does is this knight is no longer in danger of being captured. And if you trade the bishop for the knight, this knight on f5 is just, it's got a gigantic outpost here on f5. So Knight E6 is the very obvious move, and this is why here black should take the knight and play like rook e8. And I'm not going to turn on the evaluation bar because I want to keep this like just pure analysis, but I still suspect that white is probably a little bit better. Nonetheless, you have to play like this, because the notion of trying to win with rook a4, which I think is what is played here, is just insane. It's just completely insane, because there's just no way that you can win in this position, as Magnus points out, and he's completely correct. So let's go back.
And basically liquidate the game towards a draw. Yes, that is not what he wants, but you have to be realistic there. This particular sequence, she handles like a true champion, and he handles it like a desperate man. So the sequence here is really beautiful.
I mean, that's a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit over the top with what Magnus is saying, because I think Borgov's moves are pretty much forced at this point in the game. Like, we go back here, so rook a4 is played, b3 takes, bishop e6 takes, e7. All these moves are kind of forced. I don't think black has any other choice. So it's true, you can say desperate, but they're kind of only moves at the same time. So it's a little bit much, as I would say. All right.
She sacrifices a pawn, but basically ties up all Borgov's pieces.
He's not doing what he's supposed to do.
And all the excitement from the public here, I find a bit nonsensical, because she's winning, and she knows it, and he should know it, and the others should realize it's not obvious, but it should be fairly clear that his pieces are tied up, and so despite him being a pawn up at this point, she definitely has all the chances. Now she can look up at the sky, at the ceiling as much as she wants, but she knows it. She knows she's winning. I feel like she's just torturing him at this point, which she has every right to do, of course. I just see the chessboard in my head, so I might look away, like you're trying to remember something, or look up, which is also like looking away and looking up is usually a sign that you're trying to remember something. But no, the pieces are not there on the ceiling. They're just in my head.
Yeah, so I mean, this is absolutely true what Magnus is saying. which is that basically, like, there are two things that I will say here that are important to notice. The first thing that I would say about this is that, yes, like, what he's right that the gasp from the audience is nonsensical. At the same time, the people who are watching are not all chess players. So, like, as someone who comes from a family where I actually have someone who doesn't play chess, being my mother, I can very much relate to this, where it's like you don't really understand or grasp the specifics. So it's very normal that, like, you've spoken to whomever and they're like, okay, you do this move, this sequence, that sequence, and then when you don't know, as a novice or a beginner, you actually you would be like, uh-oh, what's going on? That being said, Magnus is right that this tournament theoretically is taking place in Russia. And in Russia, everybody loves chess. Everybody is very, very serious about chess. So probably 90% of the people watching in the room should actually know what's going on. And you can also sort of, as he says, feel that there must be a way that white is winning here. Because, again, when you look at the piece placement, this pawn is really advanced. It's threatening to make a queen at the end of the board. The pawn on d5 is not really secure. You can see there's a diagonal. And so it's more a matter of trying to figure out how to win here. It's like, you should sort of, you can tell that there has to be something intuitively. You can feel that there's a tactic. So he is right about that. All right, let's go back. Like, especially after bishop c5, you know that there's something, there's something wrong. You know there's something wrong, and there's something there for white. You know it. So the vast majority of people should actually be able to sense that.
She's playing quite precisely there, moving the queen, but there were already plenty of
ways to win. And so, like, that's the thing, is like when you go to this position after bishop c5, queen to e8, queen f3, I guess, is probably the best move, but there are a lot of ways to win. You can even play rook takes f6 and queen d5, for example, and this is also winning. So there are many different ways to win here, which is true. But again, they definitely came up with a really beautiful concept, and considering the name of the series, the idea of queen f3 and sacking your queen is very pristine.
Ways to win there.
Someone said they had to record their moves there. Yes, you guys. So in the old days, and even still, if I were to go play a slow game of chess, you actually do have to use a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper and record the moves that you're playing in the game. Now, I know that sounds really insane, but that is actually how it works. Benjamin Bach says, is this game made up or based on a real game? I think Antonio spotted it. It's a variation on an actual game. I think there is an original game. I forget who played it, but they tinkered it a little bit, but it is based on a game. Gotham Chess says, promoting Antonio and not me, Sag. Okay, well, Gotham also analyzed it. Okay, Gotham, but Gotham, you're getting like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube every day. Antonio is not. So I got to pump up the morale of the Antonio fans. All right, let's keep. It's a 1992 game. Okay, all right, let's keep going.
She makes a very good positional move there, fortifying her
b4. Very nice move. And
draw.
This draw offer is frankly insulting. She should never take it. As I said, his pieces are all tied up. She can never lose, and you should never offer a draw in this situation. Like, you may offer a draw in a worse position where you have counter chances. He doesn't have any counter chances here. She absolutely needs to reject this particular offer.
Yeah, so of course Magnus is right here. Let me get back to the game. So yeah, Magnus is obviously right. And the thing is, when you offer a draw in a worse position, you can definitely make an offer. But in a position like this, there's no way for white to lose the game. There's no chance for white to go wrong. Now, maybe if your name starts with an A and your first name starts with an A and your last name starts with a G, you start getting scared. I mean, black has an extra pawn. Maybe black can go like D4, D3, rook E2. Your king on G2 might be a little bit open here. And you could get very scared about potential ghosts, like maybe queen C6, queen A8. Some kind of big threats on the diagonal here, and bad things could happen. So it's very possible if you're a certain type of chess player, you start seeing the boogeyman, you start getting afraid, and it's okay, well, I can make the clean draw. I'm very happy. It's very peaceful, very limited stress. So I understand that point of view, but in this case I would rather trust in Magnus Carlsen and generally what he's saying, because I think sometimes you just have to play for the win, you know, you just have to go for the win. All right, let's keep going.
He moves the king away, and she sacrifices the queen. Very, very beautiful full choice there. She had other ways to win as well, but this is a fitting way to kind of humiliate him and to punish him for his indecent offer of a draw.
That check has been the whole point of the sequence, beginning with the bishop.
So now she is a bishop up. She's getting a new queen, and
yeah, all right, let me just go back to the other one. Okay, so yeah, what I was gonna say is, yeah, so it goes with check, queen f6, rook f6. The idea, of course, is that the bishop is held by both these pawn. It's held by the pawn on b4. It guards the pawn on e7, and the idea is to play rook f8 check, attacking the king and the queen, and then making a queen. Now, it's important to note, actually, that this queen f5 check move is very important, because if you play queen takes knight after pawn takes rook takes, this is not a check on f8. So here black can even play something like queen h5, and when you go rook f8, black can play rook to e. I mean, maybe this isn't the cleanest way. Probably rook e2 first is better. You can't block with the bishop, because then I just take the pawn. And if you play like king f1, I think very simply just rook to, I guess, b2, rook to f8, and queen h5, and black's queen is coming into e2 or d1 or to h3, and it's going to be a checkmate here. Whereas with the king on h8, it's a different story, which is why this check here is so important, because now after king h8, queen takes, rook takes, all these positions with rook f8 are going to be a check, and it's an instant queen. So king is not on h7 here.
Just has to make sure that he doesn't get some miracle counterplay with his queen and his rook, but she's figured everything out. She calculates so well that this is easy for her. She moves her rook back. He sacrificed the rook. There's only a queen left. She has a little smile, knowing that Borgov, he should have conceded before, but she knows that he has to concede. He has to resign now.
Right, exactly. So if I going back to the game, yeah, so basically what happens is after king g7 queen, black ends up going for a perpetual with only a queen. But the thing is, as we know from PogChamps, usually with one queen, that's not enough to win a game or even to make a perpetual normally in a situation like this, where white will be able to use the bishop and the rook to prevent the queen from making checks. So queen g2, rook f2, check, king d2, and here Borgov has to resign because there are no checks left in the position. You can't check here because the pawn covers it. You can't check here or here because I take the king or the queen. You can't check here because I take as well. If you take this pawn, my bishop eats your queen, and if you go here, the bishop also eats the queen on d4. So that's why here black has to resign, because there are no checks left with only a queen.
Borgov shouldn't smile. He should be ashamed at the way he conducted the end of this game. He made a lot of mistakes, but he's correct in acknowledging the fact that she played extremely well. In general, I felt like the chess was very, very well done in the series. Lots of game segments that I'd never seen before, and they were quite pretty as well. And watching the series, I would several times like try and predict what was gonna happen, and then when I was realizing, yeah, that there it is, that's the combination they want to show, was really exciting as not only a chess player but as a massive chess fan as well.
Yeah, that's actually the thing that I would say too in regards to what Magnus said, is that like most of the time when you watch chess in a movie or in a show, it's like you see the chess and like it's like there's some basic tactic and you hope that they have some tactic on the board, but then when you watch and you see actual sequences, like you stop thinking about it as just a fan. You're like, wait a second, like what if that move's played, what if that move's played, and like you go into it as like you have a very serious different kind of mindset than you normally would. And yeah, I know Gary worked on the show, but the point is that in general, when it comes to like chess on TV, it's like some basic tactic or some basic opening, and you hope they get that right. But then when you actually see like sequences of like very good moves, you like really get into it in a different kind of way. It's like you actually start thinking about the position instead of, oh, it's just, you know, chess in a show. And that, I think, is the overriding theme and what makes it so impressive, especially like Magnus says, as a chess player, but also as a fan of chess, is that you see that. All right, let's keep going.
I hope you guys enjoyed these little bits.
That being said, I'm gonna be honest, you guys, this little bit where like you put a pawn in your hand and shake like that, that would never happen. You would never shake like that. You just put your hand out. So like this is not realistic at all.
I hope you guys enjoy.
Also, that where you give someone a hug, like you don't give your opponent a hug ever. I mean, you don't. Like, can you imagine Magnus and I playing? It's like, good game, dude, here's a hug. Like, yeah, that would never happen. Of course, now that I say that, probably for the meme, something weird like that will happen. But anyway, anyway, let's keep going.
Enjoyed these little bits from Beth Harmon's games, and go out and play, have fun.
Yeah, very good, very good. Great video. Yeah, so yeah, what to say, it was really well done. If you haven't seen it, then definitely make sure to check it out. It is on Netflix. It's Queens Gambit. I don't know, I think it's still in the top 10 if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's a very good show, some great analysis, some great games. I mean, not just as like an amateur, but even as a top player.